Well, 2022 is all about being on the right mindset of your goals, and who better to help us than Komal, who has joined us, who has been on with Oprah, has been on with the Obamas, have done a lot here, and now I get to talk with her because we're all trying to get into new habits, we're trying to break old habits, but I love how you talk about it's all in the mindset that you have to set up for you. But let's give a little background about who you are and how this all has come about.
Absolutely. So I got into resilience and well-being education kind of by default. So as many of us have experienced the roller coaster of the last few years, most of my adult life has been a roller coaster, from surviving cancer to a neurological illness to doing incredible things like producing a documentary film that landed me on Oprah's Super Soul 100 and interviewing Michelle Obama on her stadium tour. It's been a roller coaster. So how do we survive roller coasters that are life? We learn how to build our resiliency and our well-being. So that's how I ended up in this space, and why I love to help people figure out how to make their habits stick and work for them.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say it's easy, but you make it so it's possible if you follow a little bit of the guidelines that you set. And let's go through some of those because they're very important. I'm gonna jump around a little bit because one that's very important I want to start off with, and that is sleep. Am I right? That is so important.
And we devalue it so much. I know there's a lot of people out there who like to do the bedtime procrastination situation. It feels like we can't go to bed, we're going to miss out on something, but sleep is one of the most important pillars when it comes to our well-being. It improves our memory, it improves our overall well-being, it makes us happier in our days. And I know if you're a new parent, this might sound a little bit daunting and difficult, but in the seasons of your life when you can prioritize sleep, please do. It is one of the best ways to support your brain health, your overall mental health, and your well-being, and to give you the energy to actually show up for those habits that you know you want to start implementing.
Yeah, okay, we've got the rest. And this is something I like that you talk about, and it's okay to do this. Brainstorm what you want, not brainstorm what everybody else wants, but it's okay to stop and brainstorm what you want to have.
And brainstorming is so important because I don't know about you, but do you ever get so overwhelmed by your thoughts about how you want to improve, the growth you want to make, the goals you want to achieve, the ambitions you have, and then all of a sudden you hit a breaking point and you're like, I don't want to do any of it. Part of what allows us to feel like we can actually achieve the goals in front of us is writing them out, just letting your brain go on blast and letting yourself write out everything that's in there, and then grouping everything that you've written out into different areas of your life. So focusing on finances and brain dumping there, focusing on your well-being, on your relationships, on your work. And then that gives you the beginning of what can become a tactical to-do list, and also shows you perhaps what habits actually matter most to you, instead of trying to do everything at once, picking one of those things on that page after your brainstorm that is actually going to be moving the needle in your everyday life when you pick that habit.
So, okay, we've gotten our rest, we've gotten our habit. So how do we pretty much train and track our of course habits and what we're doing? How do we make sure we're doing them?
So there's so many different tools out there for us to track our habits, from apps to different paper and pen tools that you can use to bulletin boards and whiteboards. So this is really up to you. Ask yourself, do I live in my Google Calendar? Is this a way that I'm going to be able to implement my habits better? Or am I a pen and paper person? And is this what's going to work for me? So play around with different tools that work for you. For me, I love apps. Apps are my go-to. So find what works for you and then lean into that. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Figure out the system that's going to support you in staying accountable to yourself. And the other thing I'll add here is tell someone that you love and respect about the goal that you're trying to implement. Because research tells us when you tell someone that you respect and whose opinion you care about, who's going to cheer you on, the likelihood of you achieving that goal goes up incredibly.
Yeah. There's one other thing that you speak about, and I think I get into this, and I understand it's a bad habit, but I make a huge list of what I want to do just for that day, and I get so discouraged if I don't get them all done. But you're like, just maybe pick one or two, and those will get done than trying to do a whole list, right?
Absolutely. I mean, those lists can be both motivating sometimes, but also super intimidating. So if we break it down and say, today I'm going to do 2 to 3 things, and if I hit those off this list, then amazing. You're going to notice that list start to decrease over time, but also increase at moments. But if you give yourself permission to only do those 2 to 3 things, you're actually going to feel like you're accomplishing something important. And when we look at the positive psychology research, when we look at task-based planning, when we focus on a list and check those things off, it actually improves our overall well-being and how we see ourselves. So focus on those 2 to 3 things, no more than that.
I like that. Look at this. We are getting into a good habit for 2022, and it's, again, just very easy to do. Komal, how can people find out more about, of course, what you are teaching people and helping them on their journey?
Well, I love to share more tips and tricks like this over on Instagram. So give me a follow over at Komal Minhas. I suspect you've got my name right under me. So I'd love to see all of y'all over there.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.